All right, here's some news articles. There's quite a few interesting ones today. This one was pretty interesting. Microsoft lost a signing key for code, and they figured out how they lost it, which is pretty interesting. A Chinese threat actor got it, and they got a key to forge tokens. And what they found was a machine crashed in 2021, and the boot crash dump was supposed to be redacted, but the redaction didn't work. And they stole the crash dump. And the crash dump included the signing key. So that's interesting. Crash dumps are supposed to redact sensitive information, but in this case, a race condition allowed the key to be present. So that's an interesting technical reason how Microsoft lost a secret key. This I also thought was very interesting. Mozilla. I didn't know Mozilla did privacy investigations, but they do, and they've determined that cars are the worst product category, worse than anything else they've tested. They collect far too much personal data. All the car manufacturers collect a bunch of data they don't need to collect, and they share or sell your data. They tell you they're going to sell your data, they're going to share it with their partners, which is worse than others. They give you no control over it, and they can't confirm whether any of them reach their minimum safety standards, which I think is very much the case. I mean, car hacking is a very interesting field, and cars have really serious security flaws. And so anyway, it's interesting to see, and here I got a chart of all the brands, but they're all pretty terrible from a viewpoint of privacy. This I thought would be particularly interesting to students. Those of you that are smart enough to go to City College, at least you're not going into debt to go to college, at least not this time. But you know, over the last several decades, the cost of college has skyrocketed, and yet people continue to believe that college is worth it because you'll make more money, and they've now done measurements and determined that this is no longer true. In fact, they found out this was really true for people who got a degree before 1980, and it's only true for Black and Hispanic people if they got a degree before 1970. And now, the amount of wealth that college graduates get is not any larger than non-college graduates because all their increase in pay is eaten up by paying all the interest on their loans. So as a class, they do not make extra money by getting a college degree. And I think, you know, it seems to me over the last decade or two, it's very obvious that college is on the way out. Companies like Google that used to require a PhD don't do that anymore. More and more companies are not requiring college degrees. And there are, with the ridiculous price of college degrees, there are alternatives like getting a Google certificate or going to a boot camp and getting a coding certificate. There are many other ways to get some training that'll get you a job. And I think colleges have overpriced themselves for the value they deliver. See, Kip Thorne has his fingerprints all over wormholes. Well, yes, I imagine he does. Yeah, Kip Thorne is big in general relativity. Anyway, so this was pretty fun. This has happened over and over and over for centuries. They made a AI startup that would generate 3D models from descriptions and drawings, which apparently is very difficult to do. And then it turned out they weren't actually using AI. They were just paying humans to do the work and then claiming AI had done it. This goes all the way back. I remember there used to be, in the 1800s, there were people who would have magic chess playing robots, and there was just a guy hiding in there playing chess. This is an old trick. There was a similar one where somebody wanted to have, I think, a self-driving car, and they just rolled the car down a hill and tilted the camera so it looked like it was going uphill. There have been many, many. This is, what's that?
Uber.
Rufus?
Uber.
Uber did that? Yeah, yeah. Just as a really old trick to claim that you have some technology and then just fake it. So WordPress is used for an enormous amount of the web. Like some large percentage of the web is running on WordPress. And WordPress is a platform that lets you put plugins in it. Unfortunately, the plugins are written by amateurs, and a lot of the plugins have serious security flaws. And what these guys found is that a ton of the plugins have serious flaws, and you cannot reach the developer. Their email address no longer works or something, so there's no way to get it fixed. So anybody that's running those plugins is at risk, and there's no way for them to get a patch to fix it. Although anybody that uses WordPress should know not to install a bunch of dodgy plugins, but a lot of people do. They say 1.6 million websites are using these dodgy plugins. And in a similar code, this one is pretty interesting. There was a study about 12 years ago that checked all the SSH keys all the HTTPS keys on the web and showed that there were mathematical problems with them. 0.1% of them had duplicate private keys, which is very bad. And these guys went through the top 1 million websites, and they found their GitHub repositories and found that 4,500 of them, which is about 0.5%, leaked source code secrets. So they leaked, here's what they leaked. They leaked GitHub keys, primarily, and AWS keys, Slack keys, and so on. This is quite common. It's also quite common in apps that they leak these things. Nikola was the company that faked the car? Yeah. All right, and this one is pretty amazing. I was unaware of this. I quit using Chrome maybe 8 years ago, because as soon as Chrome tried to force me to log in and synchronize, it tried to slam me into that without my consent, and I got irritated, so I moved to using Firefox and other browsers like Opera and Brave. But Chrome now is going to target ads based on your browsing history, which means they're sending your browsing history to Google, archiving it, and calculating what ads to show you based on that, which is pretty intrusive. And there is a way to turn it off, but apparently they make it quite difficult to turn off. So if you're still using Chrome, be aware that it's spying on you even more than we already knew. I certainly don't recommend using Chrome. I just use it when I have to, like to get Chrome Remote Desktop or something. But other than that, I quit using it as a browser intentionally long ago.
Actually, Google products, we try to get away from it.
Google bought what?
All Google products, you should get away from it.
Yes, you're right. All Google products are getting more and more evil. Let's see. Just so everyone knows, Capital One credit-wise is ridiculous. Data's on the dark web. Okay. All right. Well, I certainly agree with you about getting off Twitter. I did that. And I'm not sure about that thing where your data's on the dark web. You may be able to do something about that. I'm not sure. But anyway, risky biz news is getting very good. And so there's a problem that has been hitting the newspaper a lot, is that a lot of the people that make these phone calls are in fact slaves. They're forced labor of people that have been tricked. And China is apparently cracking down on this now, after it's been hitting all the newspaper for the last few months. So they raided 11 call centers and arrested 186 Chinese nationals and so on. So they're trying to shut down these places that are called pig butchering farms or boiler rooms, places where people are forced to make scam calls and steal money, largely from Americans. So that's interesting. It'd be nice if something can be done about this form of illegal forced labor. And so China, what is this, garbage? See if a refresh will make it go away. Okay. What is this, garbage? Oh, continue. Consider this. They want me to disable my ad blocker. Thanks a lot. Let's try putting in a different browser. Everybody has to have some way to irritate you. All right. So the Wall Street Journal published this, and this is Reuters copy. So America banned a whole bunch of Chinese companies like Huawei from selling their product in America. And so to punch back, China has now banned their government officials from using iPhones, which it turns out is a really big deal because the iPhone market in China is huge. It's a big part of Apple, and also apparently iPhones are extremely popular in China. So people think this is probably not going to work. People want to use them anyway. But that's interesting. You know, China has definitely made it clear that they're going to punch back. We ban stuff, they'll ban stuff.
Russia also banned iPhone, right?
Oh, Russia? Oh, probably, sure. But I don't think that is a significant market. Yeah.
I think the EU also banned government use of iPhones too.
Who?
EU.
EU. Oh, the EU banned government use of iPhones. I didn't know. I'd be surprised.
American stuff now.
Well, if you find a link about that, I'd like to see it because we're on pretty good terms at the EU. I'm surprised they would do that. But, all right. Anyway, let's see if I can get this. All right. So this one is pretty interesting. And if there's anybody here that understands Spotify, they might be able to understand this better than me. Apparently, Spotify, you can play music, and somehow people pay money to subscribe to the stream. So they're using it to launder money. They put up a fake stream, and then people subscribe to it, and that money passes through Spotify and now becomes Spotify profits. There's a similar scam I know where you make a terrible book, like an AI-generated book, and then sell it on Amazon for a high price, and then you use dirty money to buy it, and then it's clean money coming out. There's a lot of ways to launder money. Another simple way to launder money is lottery tickets. You just buy hundreds of lottery tickets, and you end up with like 10 or 20% of the money, but now it's clean money. And losing most of the money is considered acceptable to launder money, all these tricks. So anyway, apparently Spotify streams are one of the many ways this is being done. And this is interesting. Customs and Border Protection, I did not know this. Customs and Border Protection has a target of capturing 75% of all passengers leaving the U.S., getting a record of their face and running through facial recognition, and they're hoping to get up to 97%. This is, I don't think it has come out before that this was an official government policy, but it is. And I'm sure their big issue here is something like terrorism, they say, but they just want to have facial recognition of everybody leaving the country. And I'm sure they'd like to have facial recognition of everybody in the country too, but right now they're only going for people leaving the country. That's their biometric air exit goal. So, let's see more comments here. What's the reason iPhone was banned? Well, I don't think they explain why. It's just tit for tat for us blocking Huawei, I assume. But they might have some...
They worry about data leaks.
Worried about data leaks. They think...
Data tracking. The government track the government employee.
Well, yeah, that's probably true. The same reason you don't want to put Kaspersky antivirus on government devices. Because America and China are hostile, there's no reason for Chinese government people to be using something, sending data to an American company. It does make sense, actually. Just like we don't want people using things, sending data to Chinese companies, like TikTok.
U.S. also, the military banned the iPhone, for the military personnel to...
Military banned the iPhones?
For military personnel in their base.
That's interesting. I didn't know that either. That sounds very unlikely to me. If you can send me articles
about data leaks.
Yeah, but they've got to have phones. Android's not any better. If you can send me these articles, I'd like to see them, because that sounds very strange for the EU or America to ban iPhones, because what else can you do? I think the iPhone's probably better than Android, so banning an iPhone and letting people use Android is not an improvement. Banning all of it might be more secure, but nobody will put up with that. Anyway, so this one is interesting too. The police can issue orders to, they can issue emergency orders, and that's why people are getting hacked police emails, because now they can issue like emergency data requests to get information from TikTok and Facebook and Discord. So that's interesting. And this, by the way, is what China did to Google in 2010. The original hack that started the whole APT, China hacked into Google in order to get Google's database of contacts, which was there for law enforcement to find out the pen registers. So this is why a lot of the privacy people really don't like these law enforcement requests, because they create a trove of data which is now attractive to hackers. Anyway, that's all the news for today.